Hey everybody, David from Flash by V Cycle Nut. Happy New Year, happy holidays, all that good stuff. Hope everybody had a good one. And talk to you in a couple weeks. Just been doing the holiday stuff, taking a little break from the development, but back at it. So I got the M4 exhaust up here on my bench. I just opened it. Weighed in at around 10.6 pounds on my highly calibrated birthday or bathroom scale, for a loss of about 6.5 pounds, 6.4 pounds. Did come with instructions, which is nice. Has a warranty disclaimer. I mean, this is true of any silencer, right? Like you have for the carbon fiber to hold up, the packing needs to stay in the exhaust. I just have never seen that called out like that, so it makes me wonder if they've had issues in the past. And that's neither here nor there, really. I guess the carbon fiber looks real nice on the canister. Quality of it looks really good. Only thing that looks a little bizarre to me is the mid pipe's held on by a clamp. Everything else is held on by springs. I mean, not really a big deal, but I'm not really crazy about the aesthetic of clamps and extra little bit of weight. But that's, again, minor things. Little tapered headers, again. Nice and clean inside. Things are numbered. Nice long mid pipe. I expect it to make good power, and I expect it to sound really good. It's got a nice large opening. You can see there's a place for a DB killer. Didn't include one. I think that's about it. Looking good. Get it mounted up on the bike. Get some results for you. So the M4 is on. It installed really easy thanks to some nice set of instructions. It's got a wideband O2 sensor goes right into it. They do include adapter, so if you're using the stock O2 sensor, that will bolt right up. The only two places it bolts to are the frame. You remove the stock bracket that's sitting there that the stock exhaust mounts to, and then it has you change out the pin, and so you can connect to the rear. So I'm gonna do the first start with it. I've already done, if you watch my video on how I install exhaust, I did my first fill of the radiator. So I'm gonna bring it up to temperature, and then we'll refill the radiator, and I'll be ready to start testing soon. Let's take a listen. So the first dyno run we're going to look at is what my GSX8 made all stock. There is the power curve. Next, we see what happens with the stock bike when we remove the storkels and the foam overpiece from the filter. And you can see we get nice grains across the board. Now let's look what you get when you bolt up the M4 and you leave the ECU stock. You gain about almost 3 horsepower and nice gains from top to bottom. So then if you show your intelligence by adding my ECU flash, you can see a gain over another 4 horsepower, gain starting around 4,000 RPMs, and this is just what I can quantify. I can't quantify the improvements in throttle response and part throttle gains, but they're pretty massive. So you may have noticed that all those runs said DB killer in, so I did test it with the DB killer out, and lo and behold, it actually makes less power with the DB killer out, almost 2 less horsepower, or actually full 2 less horsepower. Only at the top, you can see at the bottom, they're pretty similar, but on the top with the DB killer in, it makes more power, and it's also quieter, not surprisingly. So with the DB killer out at idle, I got 80 decibels with my non-scientific method, and on the dyno runs, it pegged the meter high over 130 decibels. With the DB killer in, not only did it make more power, it was quite a bit quieter with 70 decibel reading at idle and only 110 decibels during the run, which is really a reasonable loudness during a dyno run. So now the fun comparison. Let's compare with the stock bike to the M4 with the stage 1 lid, the sprint filter, my flash with the DB killer in, and you can see we had basically 8 horsepower peak or increase in the peak number, but at the new peak, which is almost a full 500 RPMs higher, it's a full basically 10 horsepower. The curve is just destroying it from everywhere from about 4,000 RPMs up. It's just monstrous gains, and you feel it when you ride it. It's just really a much more fun bike to ride.
after the Flash and the M4 with the Stage 1 airbox mod. So let's take a look at what we get with the Stage 2 airbox mod. Sorry, got a little excited, jumped the gun to the Stage 2 airbox mod. Let's look at a couple other RPMs, what we got for horsepower gains and torque peak gains. So we can see we got a 9 horsepower down here at 5,800 RPMs, which is really nice, right in the meat of the power. And we gained a full 9 foot-pounds of torque down there at 4,700 RPMs. Again, where you ride the most, this thing is just killing it. So when we compare the M4 with the Stage 1 airbox mod versus the Stage 2 airbox mod, which is the Stage 2 is when we basically remove the whole lid, just leave the surround. It would be part of, if you looked at TST's lid that they sell, it basically is that. And you can see on the M4 exhaust from about 4,500 RPMs up to peak, we are up to red line, we get about a 1 horsepower gain, some places a little bit more, but a nice little jump all the way across the board. When we take the Stage 2 airbox mod with the M4 and we try it with the DB killer out, well, things are a lot closer. We have a little bit of an area from 7,000, a little bit over 8,000, where we lost less than half of a horsepower. But oddly enough, with the DB killer out, it actually made a little bit of gains from 3 to 4,500. Now, to me, this is a wash. Comparing the two of them, they felt the same on the street, a little bit on the bottom, a little bit on the top. So basically, run it either way you want. It'd be interesting to see that when I start testing the velocity stacks that concentrate the power more on top, if the DB killer out will actually start to show improvements. But for now, I'd say run the DB killer in because it is significantly quieter while still sounding great, and the performance is about the same. So when we compare the M4 with the Stage 2 in my Flash, you can see the gains are just even more impressive, right, than they were with the Stage 1. We got 9 horsepower gain peak to peak. At the new peak, we got a full 10 horsepower gain, and from 8,000 to about 9,300 RPMs, we're within 1 horsepower of that peak number. So it's a really just incredible swath to me sitting at around peak. That's really nice, really nice. And we got a full 12 horsepower gain down there at 5,800 RPMs. And 10 foot-pounds of torque at 4,800 RPMs. And here, when we compare it to the Akrapovic exhaust with all the same setups, the Akrapovic is so far it has been the leader as far as area under curve and peak power. We can see the M4 does really good, considering this thing's considerably less expensive than the Akrapovic. This is a pretty comparable graph, right? So about a horsepower difference in peak. At the very bottom, under 3,000 RPMs, oddly enough, the M4 is stronger, but between 3 and 4, the Akrapovic stronger. I mean, kind of a wash, right? Not much difference between the two. So I'm pretty impressed with the M4 exhaust, very happy with the results and how it rides on the street. Next, I will be testing the TST velocity stacks and looking forward to seeing this thing get over 90 horsepower. So thanks a lot, guys, for watching. Remember to hit that subscribe button for more motorcycle-related content. Take care.